So I have 2 layers finished of my piece. If you want to do the 3rd layer, you can definitely do so, completely up to you. But on my 3rd layer, what I've done is I've completely got the top, the 8x4 finished. And I'm coming out here of the middle bead or my connection bead from the last box. So I'm going to come through the 2 beads here at the bottom and then through the center bead here. So I'm going to come through these 2 and then through the center bead. I'm going to pick up 1 pink, which was a color A, and I'm going to come straight up through the very next bead and pull it to where it pops in that little space. Pick up another A, and I'm going to come straight up through the next bead that it pops into place. I'm going to come through the whole row picking up 1 A and going straight through. Now you can do any color that you want to. On the 3-layer ring, A was my pink, B was my green, C was my turquoise, and D was my yellow. But you can put them in whatever order you want, completely up to you. But I'm just going to go through the whole row here, popping those little beads in place. Oh, good grief. Got a little knot here. Let me get it out. There we go. Okay. So, I went through the whole row, popping those beads in. And as you can see, if you look from this direction, it kind of makes them pop up just a little bit, which is completely fine, not a problem. I want to do that on each of my center rows. So I still have 2 more rows to go. So I'm going to go through this top bead here, and then down through the next bead. So through the top bead, and down through this bead. I'm going to pick up and go down through the very next bead. So my pink beads that I'm adding right now are going to sit side by side. Okay, so if you look at it this way, it is really buckled. So I'm just going to press it and flatten it out a little bit. And to get to that next row, I'm going to come up through this bead and go up this row, adding my pink. So I have my 3 rows put in, and you can see that it really curls up. So what you want to do is you want to take and just press it down flat again on a soft surface. I'm just using my mat here, and I'm just pressing it down so that it doesn't ruffle as much as it was. Now, we need to add our crystal embellishment to the top. So to do that, I want to be coming out of this middle pink bead here. So I'm going to come through my side bead, this bead right here, and then up through my turquoise and my pink. And I'm ready to start picking up the crystals. And again, if you need to, if it feels like it's too fluffed up, you can definitely take and press it down like this. On my sample ring, I used Crystal Double AB. On this ring, I'm going to use a turquoise double AB. It's a 3mm bicone. And I'm going to work on this left side first, which means I'm only going to work in the space here in the beads from the center to the left. I'm not going to work from the center to the right. So let me zoom in just a little bit here so you'll be able to see it a little better. So right now my thread is coming out away from me. I picked up my 3mm and I'm going to come down through the pink and then the turquoise right under it. So that when I pull, that bead is now in place. I'm going to come through the bottom bead, the turquoise bead, the pink bead. So bottom bead, turquoise pink, through the 3mm that I just added. I'm going to put my finger on it here so it holds it into place. And then up through the next pink bead on the left. I'm going to pick up a 3mm. I'm going to come to the center pink, the next one, and go right down through it. Through the 3mm turquoise, the first one. Up through the pink, through the 3mm, and then through the center center pink. So up through here, through the 3mm turquoise, put my finger on it to hold it nice and tight, and then up through the center pink. Pick up your next 3mm. Come to the same pink just on the left side and go down through the pink. So now you have 3mm. Then I'm going to come through the 3mm, the center pink, the 3mm, and the next left pink. So through these 3mm, and remember I put my finger on it to kind of hold it in place. Through the center pink, through the 3mm that I just added, and then up through the left pink. And again, we're kind of doing right angle weave. Well, we are doing right angle weave, the exact same thing. We're just using 3mm bicones in place of our seed beads. So I'm going to pick up a 3mm. I'm going to come down through the same pink. Next, it's just the center one. Go through the pink, or the 3mm right below it here. I keep saying that pink, and that's all I can say is pink, 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 pink. Maybe if I say it enough, it'll get it out of my system. I'm going to come up through the left pink. Through the 3mm, and then up through the next center pink. So through the 3mm, put my finger on it, and just be careful. You'll do the same thing. You'll get your thread continually caught, so just watch. And then I'm going to come up through the pink in the center here. pick up a 3mm. I'm coming up out of the center pink, so I'm going to come down through the left pink. Come through the 3mm, the center pink, the 3mm I just added, and then the left pink. So 3mm. I'm going to put my finger on it. Up through the center 3mm. Through the 3mm I just added. And then the left pink. Let me grab some more 3mm here. I'm going to pick up a 3mm. I'm going to come down through, I'm coming up out of the left pink. I'm going to come down through the center pink. Through the 3mm below it. Up through the left pink. Through the 3mm that I just added. And then normally I would come just right up through the next pink. And if you look, every bead that we have added here has a connection to each of the 4 pinks next to it. So this first 3mm here has a thread connecting here, 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 and here. And if you look, each one has a connection to the pink bead before and after it. Except for this very last one that we're doing right here. Right now, it only has a connection here and here. So we still need the connection to this bead and this bead. So to do that, I'm going to go through the pink and the turquoise. Through the turquoise between them. And then through the turquoise and the pink on the left. And then through the 3mm, so that now that end 3mm has a connection to each of the pink beads before and after it, just like all the other ones in the row. So now I have to do the left side. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick my needle through the pink bead. And I can't add a bead here, so I'm going to go through the turquoise, the blue, and then the turquoise and the pink. And you will add your 3mm down this next row, just like we added them here on the first row. So I've got both rows finished, and right now my needle is coming out of the end center pink here, exiting towards the center beads. This is where my little 15s are going to start to come into play. I want to pick up a 15, a 3mm, and a 15. I'm going to skip one pink in the center and come through the next pink in the center and pull so that it pops that little 3mm right into place. I'm going to pick up a 15, a 3mm, and a 15. I'm going to skip a pink and come through the next pink. And then one more. I'm going to pick up a 3mm, a 15, a 3mm, and a 15. Skip a pink and come through the last pink and turquoise. So that now your pinks or your 3mm are straight down the center of your piece. You can take your needle, and if they're not all straight, you can take and straighten them up and pull your needle nice and tight. You can also use an 11 before and after. It's completely up to you. But that just gives you a fun little embellishment on the top. And again, these are turquoise AB, and these are the clear double AB. So you can see there is differences depending on what you do. Now, I'm going to exit any of these end beads here. So I'm just going to come through one bead. I'm going to pick my next color, which I'm going to use the yellow. And I'm going to take my next layer. So for my ring, the green is going to be my bottom layer since I'm only going to do 2 layers. But if you're going to do 3 layers, you want to do the layer for the center of your thread or the center of your ring. I'm going to line the beads up so they are aligning perpendicular or parallel to each other, excuse me. Right now, I'm coming out of this one bead here on the top. I'm going to pick up my yellow, and I'm going to do a circle. So I'm going to come through the green right below it, and I'm going to come through that green from left to right, so that when I pull, this yellow right here connects this blue to this green. I'm going to pick up my next yellow, and I'm going to come through the blue that I originally started with, coming through from right to left, so that these 2 beads, this blue and the green right under it, are now connected with a yellow on each side. So I'm going to come down through the first yellow that I added, and through the next bead in my row, which will be my green, this green one right here. Only working the side beads, not working outside beads, not working any of the inside beads. I'm going to pick up one yellow. Remember, the beads on the top and bottom had to have a connection bead on each side. So I have one here, but I don't have one here. So I've got to take and come back through this top bead, going from left to right, so that now my green and my turquoise have a connection on each side. So to get into position for the next one, I had to come through the first yellow I added, through the green that I just went through the yellow bead that I just added, and then I've got to turn it this way so that I can see my next bead, which is this one right here. My green and my turquoise have a connection of yellow here, but we also need one right here on this side, on the left side of it. So I've got my yellow, and I'm going to come through, since I'm coming out of the blue in this direction, I've got to come through the green in this direction so that it connects the 2 beads together. So you see I'm exiting in here, and I'm taking my needle and coming through the green. Uh-oh, my yellow dropped off. Try this again. Now, my green and my blue have a connection on each side. So I'm going to go through the yellow that was already there, my blue, the yellow I just added, and then the very next green on the row. Here's my green and my blue. It has a connection on this side. We just need one on this side. So I'm going to pick up my yellow. I'm going to come through my blue. Oh, good grief. Here we go. So now this green and this blue have a connection on each side. So I've got to go through the yellow, the green, the yellow, and the blue to get into the position for the next one. So all we're going to do is go all the way around this piece, connecting our greens to our blues. And how we're going to connect them is with these yellow beads. I'm coming out of the green, the blue. I'm going to go to the green. And then I've got to go through the yellow, the blue, the yellow, and the green. Now, I'm going to tie this thread off because I want to show you another way that you can connect these if you're not understanding, which if you've done this part and this part, you shouldn't have any problem connecting them. But if you're having trouble connecting them, I'm going to show you a different way that you can connect them. So let me tie this off and I will show you. I've gone all the way around connecting my beads, and I'm here to, I just added my last yellow. This was the first yellow that I added, and I know that because these beads are side by side, but they're not connected. So you have to connect those beads. So I'm going to go through my yellow bead that my last one that I added, through the green, through the yellow, the turquoise, and the yellow. And what that does is that connects these two beads here to these two beads. Now, if you made a third layer, you can go ahead and connect the third layer, which is the pink on mine. I would connect the third layer to my green, the center green, just like I connected to the top. So every pink would be connecting to a green. But what I like to do is I like to go ahead and finish the top and then do the bottom. So I need to come out of any blue here along the edge. So I'm just going to come through a green, a yellow, and a blue. I'm going to pick up 115 and go straight through the next blue, 11. And I'm not going to pull it tight. I'm only going to pull it enough to pop it into place. I'm going to go all the way around, picking up 115 and going through the next 11. Again, not pulling tight, just popping it into place. I'm going to do this all the way around. So I will have a 15 in between every turquoise bead here on the top. So I'll just continue around, adding my turquoise all to the top. And then, if you've added a third layer, which is your bottom, you'll stitch to the bottom and do the same thing to the bottom layer. Since I'm only going to do 2 layers, I'll stitch down through and add 15s in between all of my outer green here on my layer. Alright, so all my 15s have been added to the top layer, and all my 15s have been added to the bottom layer. Your bottom layer will sink in a little bit, and it will not stay perfectly flat. Like, it'll sink in, and that's completely okay, because there's nothing in there except for beadwork to hold it into place, which that's completely fine because it curves around your finger really good. So what you want to do at this point is we need to add our little pieces here for our ring band. I'm going to count backwards to the center from my 11. So 2, 3. Okay, so the number 11, if I count here, 1, 2, 3, the number 4 and 5 is where I want to come out of, those 2 beads right there. So I'm just going to go through my 15s and my 11s to get there. You want to actually be coming out of that bead number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yep, I'm actually coming out of that 5th 11 there. I'm going to use my pinks, and I'm going to pick up 2 pink, 1 3mm round, and 2 pink. I'm going to come back through the 4th 11, the 15, and the 5th 11 to make a circle. And I'm going to reinforce by going back through the 15s, the 3mm, the 15s, and then my 4th 11, my 15, and my 5th 11. Now I'm going to stitch through the outside beads here because I got to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going through the 11s and the 15s here along the outer edge. To be able to add the other loop for my ring band. So let's see, it's 2 11s, 3, 4, gotta go through one more 11. Alright, so I'm coming out of the 5th 11 on this side. Pick up 2 pink, 1 3mm, and 2 pink. I'm going to come back through the 4th 11, the 15, and the 5th 11 to make my circle. And then I'm going to reinforce this and tie the thread off so that the top to my ring will look like this. If you add the 3rd layer, it will look like this. Once you've got the top complete, you're ready to do the ring band. So I'm going to pull these little 3 millimeters here on the edge. And I'm using a piece of 0.5 millimeter Stretch Magic. Now I'm going to take and run the Stretch Magic through one of the 3 millimeters on the end of the ring band. I'm going to put the two ends together and center on the thread. On each thread, I'm going to pick up one 3 millimeter round. Now, I don't use needles for this because I don't see a need for it, but if you want to use like a big eye needle, you can. Thread on one 3 millimeter, you've got one on each thread, and then I'm going to thread on one 3 millimeter, and I'm going to cross my threads opposite ways through that one thread so that when I pull, it gives me a little box of 4 right angle weave, or 4 little 3 millimeter beads for right angle weave. Pick up one 3 millimeter onto each thread. And then I pick up one 3 millimeter and cross my threads opposite ways through the one bead so that when I pull, now I have 2 boxes. So I'm going to continue until I have enough beads to go around my finger that will fit tightly, because this is a stretch band. So I have all of my beads added for my ring band, and I ended with one 3 millimeter onto each thread. I'm going to take one thread and I'm going to go through the 3 millimeter here on the other side of the ring, and I'm going to pull the thread, and I'm going to take my 2 pieces and I'm going to tie them together, being careful not to get the 3 millimeter on this one side caught up in the knot. I'm going to do a double one. I'm just going to put a couple of good knots in there. Pull it nice and tight, and then take and trim those tails. So that now, if you did a 3-layer one, you have a 3-layer one. If you did the 2-layer, you have the 2-layer. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make this right angle weave ring. If you had trouble with this project, you may want to go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/user/off-the-beaded-path, and look at some of our previous videos on right angle weave. I did a series, I started kind of at the beginning of the year and have been working through this right angle weave so that it will lead up to this point. So if you have any questions, I would refer back to those first to see if you can figure it out. I hope you enjoyed the project, and we'll see you next time for another project from Off the Beaded Path. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.